Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton wants to pass a law blocking schools from teaching the New York Times 1619 Project, a Pulitzer-winning initiative aiming to re-examine the nation's founding through the lens of American slavery. Spearheaded by journalist Nikole Hannah-Jones, the project launched last year in the Times magazine with a goal to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of our national narrative, placing the arrival of slave ships in 1619 as the moment that the country's defining contradictions first came into the world. Last week, Cotton introduced the Saving American History Act of 2020, legislation that bashes the project as a distortion of American history, and seeks to reduce federal funding for schools embracing the Times curriculum, claiming that even a penny is too much to go to the 1619 Project in our public schools. As the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette reported, that means schools, emphasizing American slavery instead of American independence, could face financial consequences for doing so. Cotton called the Times Project left-wing propaganda and revisionist history at its worst, in an interview on Friday. The entire premise of the New York Times factually, historically flawed 1619 Project, is that America is at root a systemically racist country to the core and irredeemable. I reject that root and branch, he said. The award-winning project has received pushback, particularly in regards to Hannah-Jones' introductory essay argument that one of the primary reasons the colonists decided to declare their independence from Britain was because they wanted to protect the institution of slavery and ensure that slavery would continue, something she remarked to be conveniently left out of our founding mythology. Some critics contend that many of the leading American revolutionaries opposed slavery, and that the protection of it was not a main impetus for revolution. Last year, scholars Sean Wilentz and Gordon Wood were among the 5 historians to pen a letter critiquing the initiative's factual errors, in which they requested the Times issue prominent corrections of all the errors and distortions presented in the 1619 Project. The Times defended the project but later modified their argument to say that preserving slavery was a motivating factor to go to war for just some of the colonists. But even as the historians' critique has largely faded, several prominent Republicans, like Cotton, have stepped up attacks on the nearly year-old project. Speaking about how he believed the legacy of American slavery should be handled, Cotton claimed the Founding Fathers saw slavery as a necessary evil in the country's founding. We have to study the history of slavery and its role and impact on the development of our country because otherwise we can't understand our country.